Cinema Classics is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center, 1550 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. Further details and showtimes online at gatewayfilmcenter.com.
The award-winning Cinema Classics is produced by John DeSando and Johnny DiLoretto. Listen to the shows online at WCBE.org and like us on Facebook. I'm Johnny DiLoretto.
I'm John DeSando,
And
this is Cinema Classics.
There you go, pointing to our sign there. So as part of Cinema Classics, our series at the Gateway Film Center, we are going to screen Guys and Dolls.
Oh, Marlon Brando.
Yes, absolutely.
How wonderful.
Marlon Brando and a Frank Lesser musical with Frank Sinatra, and you have a rundown of some other cast members in
And
that.
we do. And we have Vivian Blaine, who plays Miss Adelaide.
Okay.
And that's Sinatra's love interest. So they got two parallel love interests.
Yeah.
And Brando is in love with Gene Simmons. Easy.
Right. Yeah,
Right?
easy. She's beautiful.
She is. And everything is, I think, really nice about this. Luck Be a Lady Tonight. Come on,
Yeah.
who doesn't know that song? Everybody.
Everybody knows that song.
Yeah.
It's a great song. I have a confession to make.
You haven't seen this movie?
Never seen this movie.
Okay, well, I saw it a long time ago, and I
Okay.
looked at some clips to refresh myself.
Right. I've seen a couple
You-
of clips.
And you saw the
Yeah.
long clip we had.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will say this. I think Brando is great. And I don't care that he can't sing.
He can't.
You know what? Most memorable musicals are often filled with people who can't sing. It's their earnestness that sells the
Yeah.
songs.
Who is it? Richard Burton?
Mm-hmm.
Richard Harris?
Yeah. Camelot, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
What musical was
Harris-
Richard Burton in?
Camelot.
Oh, he
He was in Camelot. And I don't know, Richard Harris. But all of these guys, even like Rod Stewart,
Yeah.
who can't sing, but they're so charismatic, you don't get
Yeah, you can. Look, in just the one clip we showed at last month's Cinema Classics screening, Brando, the way he moves on camera is something to behold.
It is.
The way that, well, obviously the fashions of the time
Yeah.
were really beautiful and beautifully captured on film in
Oh.
this Technicolor presentation. But the figure that he cuts
Yes.
in that suit
Yeah.
with the fedora and the
Yeah.
way he like slings cards and
He tips that
gestures
fedora.
with his hand.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a movement. It's an art. It's an art. It's the art of human movement that I think is gone today. Like, you know, we see a lot of. Surely there are people who do extraordinary things with dance.
Yeah.
But you don't see people move the way Brando moved.
You know, strangely enough, there is somebody who I think moves in that way that you're
Yeah,
talking
who?
about, in a poetic way.
Who's that?
Kevin Spacey.
Is that right?
Yeah. And if you watch him even sing,
Okay.
try to sing, which he did with,
Beyond the Sea.
yeah, with Bobby Darin.
Well, I say this because that makes perfect sense to me because Spacey is enamored of that period of music.
Yes.
He loves Dean Martin. He loves
Yeah.
Bobby Darin. He loves the crooners of the 40s and the 50s. And so I can see very clearly how he might emulate those moves in that sort of style.
Some of the interesting things about this, in particular to me, Frank Sinatra, of course, plays Nathan Detroit.
Yeah.
Who's the second banana
Right.
to Sky Masterson.
Yeah.
And-
Who is Brando.
Right. And Sinatra was so pissed
Yeah.
about not getting Sky Masterson.
He wanted to play that part. There was another part that Brando got that he beat Sinatra out for. I think it was what was it? Hold on, I have it here. I don't want to.
Looking, I want to remind you, Sheldon Leonard is in this.
Oh yeah, Sheldon Leonard from
Sheldon
It's a
Leonard.
Wonderful Life. Nick, the bartender.
Nick, who also went on to be one of the biggest television producers of all time.
Did he really?
Yeah.
What did he
Oh yeah.
produce?
This is a Sheldon Leonard production. And I can't think of it. You know, like Dick Van Dyke, maybe
Yeah, sure.
something like that.
Okay.
And
So yeah, go ahead.
so Sinatra was angry, so angry that he used to call Brando Mumbles.
Yeah. There was a line. He said something about, "Let me know when Mumbles is done rehearsing. I'll come out and do my part." Apparently, Sinatra wanted the part of Terry Malloy and On the Waterfront, which obviously went to Marlon Brando.
Wow.
So there were two leads that Brando beat Sinatra to the punch
Ooh,
on,
right.
and it made him none too pleased. Now, obviously, you know, there are roles which Sinatra went on to play that only he could have played. But obviously, you couldn't have Sinatra play Terry Malloy.
No.
With that
But here I could see
power.
Sky Masterson. I could see it, except when you look at the figure that Brando cuts, the beautiful suits and playing with his fedora so it angles just right. He's so rakish, handsome, and you forget that he can't sing. And you can see where Sinatra, the smaller guy of the two, is just right for Gate to Detroit. So this is where I give the suits, people producing the movie, some credit.
Right.
And Brando at that time, right, must have been at his height.
He was the biggest box office draw in the world in 1955. So look at that, and you have at the same time this not only ascension of Brando, but the ascension of the Actors Studio brands. So you have in 1955, I don't think James Dean had died yet.
Oh,
You have his 1, 2, 3 punch of Rebel Without a Cause, Beast of Eden, and Giant coming out. You have Paul Newman kind of coming, he's in Somebody Up There Likes Me, Marilyn Monroe. So you have all these people who are kind of like coming out of that school, changing the business, changing the way movies are made, changing the way audiences receive them. So for somebody like Sinatra, who was used to getting his way and used to commanding, I forget what year to Eternity was, but that was his comeback.
right.
And it had to have been somewhat infuriating.
Well, yeah, and believe me, it isn't all Sinatra who was irritated. Brando was irritated with Sinatra. They had it in the restaurant, cheesecake. Brando knew that Sinatra hated cheesecake, so he flubbed it all that afternoon. He flubbed his line. So then Sinatra had to continue to eat cheesecake.
Yeah.
And they had to stop because
That's great.
Sinatra was almost sick. Came back the next day, one take.
That's great. And that reminds me of another anecdote about James Dean, again, a method actor, who, when making East of Eden, clashed with Raymond Massey, who played his father.
Okay.
So you remember there's this scene where they're at the dinner table and Raymond Massey is reading from the Bible, or James Dean is reading from the Bible. I can't remember how it goes.
Right.
But the reaction shots of Massey getting really apoplectic at the James Dean character was because when Massey was getting his shots taken, James Dean was ad-libbing all these profane sort of acerbic things out of the Bible, which Massey was like, he was a sensitive cat to that stuff, and so the reactions that you see are real.
See, I love that stuff. Now, Brando, I think, had the final word on this, and here's what he said about Sinatra.
Yeah.
He said many years later, Brando said of Sinatra, "Frank's the kind of guy who, when he gets to heaven, is going to give God a hard time for making him bald."
That's great.
This is an unusual musical I think because of Brando's presence in every way, because nobody figured that he could do a musical. You and I believe he can, and yet everything else in it is pretty standard, and Sinatra's just great.
Right.
With his singing is so effortless, so clear, so crisp, and so it turns out to be a really interesting, good musical. I'm not sure everybody believes it is.
Yeah, well, it has its detractors, but they're they're not too vocal about it. I think that's really, you can say maybe he's not perfect, and the movie's pacing suffers a little bit, but other than that, it's a well-regarded musical. And like I said, just to see him in it, right out of the gate, Brando was upending expectations.
Yeah.
When he made his screen debut as Stanley Kowalski in Streetcar Named Desire, everybody thought, here's this lug of a guy who's inarticulate, can't speak very clearly, he's kind of animalistic. Terry Malloy in On the Waterfront didn't do much to change that, but then he also played Zapata in Viva Zapata.
Sure.
He played Julius Caesar, so he did Shakespeare. How do you feel about a Shakespeare?
I thought his Julius Caesar was terrific. It was that tea house of the August Moon or whatever that he
Yeah,
did. It
yeah,
was
yeah.
such a bomb. I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
he could not do everything. There was, as I opened up with some great songs there, like "Luck Be a Lady," and then I learned about Nathan Detroit, and then there's one like "I Love You, a Bushel and a Peck."
Yeah.
They cut it out of the film,
Right.
but
They cut 5 songs out of it.
yeah, but it went on to make a bucket of money for the people who sang it. Who I think, who the heck was it? Perry Como, Betty Hutton cut singles on this song. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I mean, it has a really good music, and I think the guys on the street, including Stubby K and some of the others, are really good guys. Some of them right from the musical.
Yeah.
So it's been successful all the way around and into the movie. I don't know how well this movie did when it came out. Thank you.
Guys and Dolls opened on November 3rd, 1955, to mostly good reviews.
All right.
Casting Marlon Brando has long been somewhat controversial, but with an estimated budget of over $5 million, it garnered rentals in excess of $13 million. And Variety ranked it as the #1 money-making film of 1956.
Wow. It was nominated, of course, for Oscars for cinematography, art direction, costume design, which we had, and best music, scoring of a musical.
Okay.
And it did win a Golden Globe for Best Picture Musical.
Wow.
That year. So here we go.
And that was at a time when they released a lot of musicals.
Yeah. So it had good, really good competition at that time. And AFI, the American Film Institute, listed as number 23 of the 25 greatest musicals.
Was that right?
Yeah.
So they only did 25.
I know. The top 20.
I thought you were going to say out of 100 musicals,
the top 25.
the top 25. Wow, it comes in down near the bottom of the top 25.
That's okay.
So see, this is really interesting. This is only his 8th film. He did The Men, which is the one where he's in a wheelchair, followed by Streetcar Named Desire, Viva Zapata, Julius Caesar, and The Wild One, boom, 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 like that. Then On the Waterfront, Desiree, which he played Napoleon.
Oh, okay.
It was weird, right?
Yeah, I know, right? When you have to shrink them
I know,
down.
but listen. Now, see, that's silly because everybody says Philip Seymour Hoffman was so great as Truman
I know,
Capote.
he was a tall guy. He was taller, man.
And then Guys and Dolls. And you're right, he followed this with Tea House of the August Moon, which was atrocious. And then Sayonara.
Well, one of the interesting things as you watch the film, and we know that there are so many people out there who will be coming on Sunday to see this film, notwithstanding the songs, in the dialogue, there are very few, if any, contractions.
Really?
No aren'ts, ain't, are not, there, no contractions, because, and there may be one or two, but it's stylistically, you're going to find an almost stilted kind of conversation, particularly from thugs, who you would think would. Now in the songs you'll hear them, but here they won't, because it mirrors the writing of Damon Runyon.
Oh yeah, right. Well, this is based on 2 Damon Runyon short stories.
Yeah, and he wrote more formally,
Okay.
without contractions. So they brought that to the screen,
Interesting.
and I'm going to be interested on Sunday to see it again, to pay attention to that, because it didn't really strike me years ago.
Terrific. Well, that's Guys and Dolls. We're going to show it on Sunday, September 7th at 2 p.m. You can join us for brunch in the Torpedo Room at 1 p.m.
You can't beat that deal.
No, it's a great deal.